Okay, here we go with the new series, Fidget Fix Tips. So today is magnets. Magnets are always kind of scary for people when they first start out with sliders. They want to get in there, they hear about other people configuring magnets so that things feel a little different, but they're terrified of going in because A, when they do, when they watch other people do it, it looks like a disaster half the time. And B, if they ask questions, a lot of people tend to talk down to them like, well, are you stupid? Just use this piece of metal for it or whatever. It's so simple. I don't understand why anybody doesn't get this. This is the wrong way to approach beginners with magnets. Just don't make somebody feel stupid for not knowing or for asking a question. So here are the two most common scenarios. The first is we have half of the magnets. You start opening up your slider. Sorry, we have half the slider. You start opening it up and you go, okay, I'm feeling pretty safe today. I'm feeling pretty adventurous. You know, what's the worst that can happen? I watched some videos of people talking about sliders. I have a piece of metal I can put the slider on, which apparently fixes it. And so they do this, they unscrew it and they start going, okay, I'm gonna open it now and I'm just gonna see what's happening in here. And then they see the magnet and then all of a sudden, oh my God. And then it just, blah, I get it. That was like a bad infomercial where everything goes wrong. But the point being, so many people end up in this position, or they just have a couple of magnets sitting in there and then they have a few others that are pulled out and they don't know where to go. People start giving them advice, which is get a piece of metal, put the plate on there, and then that's great because when you put a magnet down, it sticks to the metal. That's fine. The first problem is we don't know what the polarity of this is. So what you have to do is take the other side of the plate and all of a sudden now you're like, okay, oh, that sticks. So now I know this is the direction of the plate that goes through, and like, you know, if my magnet has to go this way, well then I think I have to take my magnet and push it down there. The problem with that is a lot of people get confused by this layout when they're not used to it. All of a sudden they start thinking the magnets are facing this way. This is just a visual thing. This is the way our brains work. It's very easy to get mixed up with it. Yes, some of you are great and you can figure it out. Some people can't. So this first method, when you're fixing half of this, get rid of the tin. The tin does us no good unless you are completely comfortable with magnets. We get away with the tin. Really, the only surefire way to do this is to take the good side, put it down, and now you know your polarity. By the way, polarity means magnets travel in a certain direction in relation to each other. So if I have a magnet, if I have half this stack, the polarity is all facing one way. It's going in the same direction across all the magnets. If I try to turn that polarity around, they repel against each other. That does not mean that they are not magnetic in both directions. They are, and this is what confuses people. They think, oh, if it's sticking to the lid, this is the right direction. That is not always the case. Magnets will stick to metal in either polarity. It's when they come in contact with each other, they will only stick to each other in one direction. That is why you need to use the other half that is still good. Again, this is scenario one. So we take the good half of the slider, we take the empty half, or the tier maker half, as it were, for some people. Now this makes it very easy to match up the magnet polarity direction with the slider underneath. Because remember, these magnets are going one way. So then all we do is we hover over. Now watch, here's with opposing polarity. I actually can't push it into the hole. It won't let me because the magnet on the other side is repelling it. So I know I can only go in one direction. And that's simple. Now in this case, I'm using a Kuko EDC X V2 titanium slider, which is honestly fantastic. I will be reviewing this soon. It comes with these different size magnets. So you'll notice thicker and like wider and you know, less wide magnets, we'll call it. And a lot of sliders will actually use the same size magnets throughout, so that doesn't really matter. But you can see how easy it was for me to put the magnets in because they're all sticking in the right direction. Here is something that you should not do, is try to slide it while it's sitting on top when your lid is exposed or when the lid is off. Because these are attracting to the magnets underneath. The minute we slide it over, see that? They want to jump. We don't want that. So make sure everything is good. We're all, see, our magnets are all facing this, the correct way because we know they're attracted to the magnets on the lid on the other side. So we know the polarity is right. Then you can put your lid on. Then you can slide it off, and then you have your lid. And then we screw it together, and everything is happy. Now, that's scenario one where you have one side. Here is the worst case. Let's say we're working, and all of a sudden they all pop off. And then, oh, get off there. Now I'm just using the tin so I can get the lid off. Now we start from scratch. This is the scariest position for a lot of people to be in with magnets. I totally get it. And I know, again, for the experts, for those of us, I'll include myself in terms of somebody who's quite comfortable working with these things, this is not an issue because we know what to do here. But for people, and the first time people, this is terrifying. So here's what I'm going to tell you. The first plate, polarity does not matter. Just pick one. Pick a side. Either start with this side or start with this side. Sorry, my focus was out there. So you either start with this side or start with that side. It does not matter. This is the scenario. This is a perfect scenario for using the tin. Because what we want is, again, it doesn't matter what side these magnets are on. We just want something for the magnet to stick to. So just start placing in your holes. Now, again, the polarity does not matter at this point because no decision has been made. We are making the decision with our first set of magnets. We are deciding where the polarity goes. Now, here's the thing to keep in mind. Let's say you weren't paying attention and you accidentally, see how I flip this over? And you put this down, right? With the wrong polarity facing that way. You won't know when you are using the tin. If you've accidentally flipped this, you won't realize that you flipped it because all the magnets still want to stick to metal underneath the titanium. The way to check it, and this is what a lot of us will do when we assemble something together, just to be sure, is we will choose a side, polarity, and we will pass over top of the magnets that have been inserted. And all of those magnets, in this case, if I start in this corner, it's repelling. It doesn't matter if I started this way and it was attracting. I don't want to attract because I don't want the magnets to pop out. So I always want to go with an opposite polarity so it pushes down. So I'm going to go in this corner. It's pushing. So now I go to the next one. It's pushing. It's pushing now again. Repelling, I should say. It's repelling. I go over here, repelling, and oh, all of a sudden attracting. And it's pulling in. That tells me that this magnet is a different polarity than all these others because all these magnets are pushing away from the stack, but this one is pulling into the stack. See that? This one is pulling into the stack. None of the others are. So that means those two magnets had the wrong polarity. So I know that anything in this direction, if I place it down here now, is wrong because these are repelling. That is the direction that I want to go in. If I flip it, now here's how I'm testing. I'm putting my finger on a magnet. I know, boom, that just gets pulled right into it. So now I know this is the right direction to lay these magnets down. Because I want these last two to be in the exact same polarity direction as all of the others. This might have been confusing when they were repelling, right? Repelling means that this polarity is going that way and this polarity is going that way. doesn't really matter if that's accurate or not. I'm just saying these are going in one direction and these are going in another direction. So that means when they're reversed or repelling, that these are in opposite directions. If I turn this around and now these are all attracting, that means they are all facing the same direction. So that's what I want. I want these facing the same direction. So I've got another little one here. I'm gonna pop that in. And now this is where people get lost or they get kind of stuck. So you'll see here, I have a thick one and I have a small one. All I'm gonna do is I'm going to switch the order of this little one and put it on top. That gives me a thick one on the bottom. And then I'm just going to snap it there. And now they're in place. Now, again, I'm gonna do my test again, but I'm gonna reverse the polarity. That way none of the magnets are gonna jump out at my stack. And nothing is attracting. They are all pushing back, okay? So that means these are all going in the exact same direction, and that is what I want. It doesn't matter which direction I've chosen, as long as they are all uniform, as long as they're all going in the same direction. So now I'm gonna close this up. Now that we have a good one, this is our first one. In here, the magnets have we've already determined which direction the polarity is going to go in. So this is where I bring in my other plate. Now, there are those of us that are quite comfortable with this. All we have to do is pass the magnet stack over and go, okay, well, the magnets are sticking, so I know this is the correct direction. The issue is transferring from here to here. Sometimes people still do get confused. Yes, they do. That's just the way it is. So what those of us that are practicing this will take our metal tin, and this is when you hear people say, just take a piece of metal, because we will take our slider, we will determine which polarity direction is correct, and in this case, this is. And so then I will purposely hold this, and then I know that is my direction, and I will start stacking. The thing is, sometimes when you get down to one or two magnets, you kind of forget what direction you held it in. And I do it all the time. So this is good. The metal sheet is good when you are really, really paying attention and comfortable. When you are not comfortable, just use the good side, the side that's already put together, the assembled side. Use that as your back. Take your other plate, make sure that your plate's facing the right direction, and then hover your magnets over and just figure out your polarity. That is the polarity, or the correct polarity. So I am just going to slide this one over. That's it. So now I know all these magnets are in the right order. Oh, just not my screws. Come on, buddy. And that's it. Now we have a slider. Happy. All the magnets are in the proper direction. And you now are hopefully a little more confident about messing with magnets. Thanks for watching, gang.